How $400 AI drones shattered a $1 billion defense system. The hum in the dark. March 2025. Donetsk, Ukraine. A $400 drone no bigger than a shoebox buzzes silently through the night. Skimming just meters above frost-hardened ground, it skirts trees, power lines, and terrain with mechanical precision. Beneath the sound of its carbon rotors, no alarms blare. No missile interceptors fire. Within seconds, it reaches its target, a Russian radar relay unit stationed near the border, critical to an S-400 air defense battery. Then impact. A fireball. A fracture in Russia's myth of invincibility. Operation Spider's Web had begun. The world's most advanced missile defense system, the multi-billion-dollar S-400 Triumph, developed by Russia to intercept stealth jets and ballistic missiles, had just been penetrated by a cheap, AI-assisted racing drone jury-rigged with explosives and code. This wasn't a fluke. It was a signal. The theory of the invisible swarm. In 2024 and early 2025, Ukraine's defense intelligence community began a covert experiment. Military analysts and engineers postulated that radar-evading drones, if flown below 10 meters altitude, could bypass Russia's sophisticated long-range detection systems altogether. Enter Operation Spider's Web, a codename that would come to define Ukraine's next-generation strategy of asymmetrical warfare. Using open-source materials and commercial drone parts, Ukraine's Defense Innovation Unit, backed by NATO advisors and private defense contractors, converted first-person view (FPV) racing drones into loitering munition platforms. Equipped with AI-powered navigation and object recognition, these drones were designed to think, adapt, and strike autonomously without GPS, without real-time control. The goal? Overwhelm and disable Russian high-value air defense infrastructure using disposable machines that cost less than a rifle. It worked. Anatomy of a $400 weapon. What made these drones so lethal wasn't their price, it was what was inside. Chassis, off-the-shelf FPV frames, commonly used in hobby racing. Guidance system, no GPS. Instead, these drones used terrain matching algorithms similar to those found in Tomahawk cruise missiles. Processing power, lightweight Raspberry Pi-sized boards running custom neural networks. Targeting, AI models trained to recognize radar dishes, power nodes, antenna clusters, targets that mattered. Sensors, thermal imaging, and low-light cameras. Explosive payload, shaped charges with a magnetic base, strong enough to destroy sensitive electronics or critical radar systems. Most importantly, these drones operated on their own. Once launched from camouflaged racks hidden in rural orchards or fields, they flew independently toward their targets, avoiding detection, reacting to obstacles, and optimizing flight paths, all without human oversight. The AI system behaved like a predator pack, fast, quiet, intelligent, and coordinated. The collapse begins. The Donetsk strike was the first domino. Within 2 hours, Ukraine deployed over a dozen drones across southern Russian-occupied territory. These strikes weren't just surgical, they were synchronized. Drone after drone penetrated deep into enemy airspace, some destroying radar units, others acting as decoys to trigger false alarms. By dawn, 3 S-400 batteries had gone dark. A key command post in Crimea lost radar uplink. Russian mobile defense convoys were seen fleeing toward forested areas, switching off emitters and radios to avoid detection. On Ukrainian and NATO monitoring screens, thermal maps lit up with blobs of fleeing personnel and burning radar domes. One intercepted Russian transmission captured the panic. "We can't see them. They're coming from the trees. The S-400 can't lock on." The psychological earthquake. What followed was arguably more damaging than the physical destruction, a psychological breach. The S-400, long portrayed by Russian propaganda as untouchable, had been outwitted by what their state media dismissed as toys. The system designed to intercept American stealth bombers had failed against $400 neural net-powered quadcopters. Russian generals were forced to re-evaluate doctrines built over decades. State news agencies went silent. Telegram channels buzzed with speculation, dismay, and anger. Meanwhile, inside NATO's Joint Intelligence Command, the footage was circulated with a single-line subject. AI supremacy begins now. Swarms take the battlefield. What began as pinpoint raids soon evolved into full-spectrum drone swarming. By April 2025, Ukraine had begun launching over 100 autonomous drones simultaneously across multiple fronts. Some carried high explosives. Others used electronic decoys to spoof Russian radars. A few carried delayed fuse munitions programmed to detonate once troops returned to the damaged sites. The cost-to-impact ratio was staggering. In some cases, $20,000 in drones forced Russia to expend $15 million in interceptor missiles. Entire batteries were abandoned or pulled back. Traditional radar-guided defense systems began failing to operate effectively under constant harassment. By late spring, Russia began deploying ZSU-23-4 Shilka autocannons, Cold War relics designed to blindly spray bullets into the sky. The irony was hard to ignore. A state-of-the-art military was now relying on 60-year-old anti-aircraft tech to deal with $400 drones made from open-source blueprints and 3D printers. A doctrinal collapse. NATO analysts called it what it was: the first collapse of a legacy air defense architecture in the face of autonomous swarms. The Russian S-300 and S-400 systems had been engineered for symmetrical conflict, battles against aircraft, missiles, and cruise threats. They were never built to track dozens of micro-targets moving unpredictably under radar coverage, at low speeds and low altitudes. Ukraine had found the blind spot and exploited it with brutal precision. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a doctrinal death blow to centralized, radar-reliant defense. Swarm versus system. Zoom out, and the battlefield tells a deeper story. On one side, Russia, a legacy superpower with heavy systems, centralized command, and brute force strategies. On the other, Ukraine, backed by NATO's tech edge, leaning into decentralized warfare, cloud intelligence, and adaptive AI swarms. This war isn't about land alone. It's a contest of systems. One runs on state secrecy, steel, and institutional hierarchy. The other runs on open source code, collaboration, and innovation. It's autocracy versus adaptive democracy, and the winner is being decided not with tanks, but with terabytes. As one Western defense analyst put it, the battlefield no longer rewards the biggest spender. It rewards the fastest thinker. A personal echo. Back in Nevada, at a darkened NATO command center, Staff Sergeant Matt Dalton watched the Donetsk strike unfold in real time. He wasn't just watching. 2 years earlier, he had spent 6 months training a small group of Ukrainian soldiers at Fort Bragg in AI swarm logic and targeting protocols. One of them was Captain Mykola Harastenko, a quiet, brilliant engineer from Lviv. They had bonded over late-night sim runs, coffee, and shared beliefs about what this war represented. Mykola died in January 2025 during a drone counterstrike near Zaporizhia. As Matt watched the drone camera zoom in on a radar tower seconds before impact, he didn't cheer. He just whispered, "That's for Mykola." Because behind every drone strike, every code snippet, every battlefield breakthrough, there are names, faces, and friendships that span continents. These aren't just weapons. They're promises kept. War in the age of algorithms. So what now? As AI drones prove their dominance, the deeper question surfaces: can machines become the final line of defense for free states or the scalpel of tyrants? Would you trust a neural net with the power to trigger a war? Should strategy be encoded into algorithms? The battlefield has already changed. Soldiers are now coders. Battles are fought in silicon, not soil. Victory belongs to whoever thinks faster, not whoever spends more. From Yemen to Taiwan, from Africa to the Baltics, the lessons from Ukraine's AI war are being studied and adopted. What was once science fiction is now field doctrine. The final shift. In every era of war, a new weapon emerges that changes the rules. The English longbow at Agincourt. The machine gun in World War I. The atomic bomb in 1945. Now it's this. A $400 drone, printed, coded, and launched by a soldier with a laptop. This drone is not just a weapon. It's a referendum on the future. A statement that adaptive systems, not authoritarian strength, win wars. As Donetsk, Crimea, and Curson light up under drone swarms, one message is clear. The rules of warfare have been rewritten. Poll of the week: which drone will dominate the future battlefield in 2030? A. MQ-9B Reaper. B. Bayraktar TB2. C. DJI Wing Long. D. Ukrainian AI FPV Swarm. Drop your vote in the comments. Subscribe and join the Defense Watchers. Your front row seat to every strike, every breakthrough, and every paradigm shift in the age of algorithmic war. This isn't just about drones. This is about sovereignty, strategy, survival. The age of AI warfare has begun. And the side that writes the smartest code, not the biggest check, will own tomorrow. Stay informed. Stay sharp. Stay free.